Hey, you're watching the Waffle Press TV Hangouts. I'm your host, Diego Crespo, and with me I have my always lovely co-host.
And Mighty Sophia.
How are you doing today?
Well, as you know, I am currently losing my noggin a little bit packing for Disneyland, but I guess it's a good problem to have. So I am happy in a lot of ways.
And you will continue to be happy because that is the happiest place on earth.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
but
do
sometimes.
intend.
I don't want to. I'm sure you will not be disappointed.
Okay.
But completely, or no, not completely unrelated to Disney, we have some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to talk
Yes,
about
because
because
it
of
is Disney.
AT&T. And damn it, the one time I thought I had everything down, I had our topics. We're gonna talk Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Last Man on Earth, and I
Mm-hmm.
forgot the episode title again.
Scars.
Thank
It's
you.
scars.
What would I do without you? Okay,
This is what I'm here for.
thank you. So yes,
So
scars. So in this episode, just quick recap of it. Everything kind of falls apart, and people I thought weren't so bad are bad, and I I kind of dropped my jaw a couple times. Um, I'm just gonna give a quick couple thoughts because that's what we
mhm.
do here, of course. I was very concerned that Bobby might have died. Thankfully, it was just one of the icer guns. I thought she
Mhm.
was dead. And I was
Yeah.
very upset because I didn't think that was the right move to go with that character, take her
Mhm.
out like that. Um, I am sad to see Edward James almost go also because
Mm.
that he's such a regal presence all the time. But he, even in the few episodes he was in here, he was much better served here than he was on Dexter, and that makes me happy.
Yes.
So let me ask you, what would you think was the most shocking thing to happen in this episode, and then we'll just divulge the rest of the information.
I mean, there was so many just cataclysmic moments in this episode, like too many to list like on a single hand, trying to count like one atrocity per finger. I'm going to be taking up multiple hands here, hands that I do not currently have. So I think that definitely the way that things ended with the decision that Jiaying made to start a war was, well, it's funny because it was hugely shocking in the moment the way that she went about it, because we've never seen her exercise her power in this way. But at the same time, Reina did see it coming, and she knew that it was going to be a problem if S.H.I.E.L.D. spoke to her, but nobody listened to her because she doesn't have any allies in the afterlife, unfortunately. Um, but the way that it went down, what with her like shooting herself to make it look like, staging this in order to cause a war, like it's very much reminiscent of kind of like Magneto's "they'll never accept us" kind of thing, and so she kind of becomes the Magneto of the afterlife, which was just sort of a wild twist, which had a little bit of a preface to it, but at the same time the way that it happened was totally unexpected. And then, of course, Agent 33 had to go and steal May's face again, ever so conveniently, to pull a fast one on Bobby, which was very upsetting. Um, yeah, but just so many huge moments, and I think that the way that this episode was built up, I think it definitely warrants a 2-hour finale, because we're going to have a lot of fallout from this, what with Sky initially going up against S.H.I.E.L.D. and then probably figuring out what actually happened and then trying to set everything right. So a lot of things are going to fall down on Sky, and it's going to be pretty crazy to watch unfold, but I'm very, very excited. I mean, this was one of we've spoken at length about just how good the show has gotten on so many levels, and I think that this was maybe even a favorite episode for me, just in terms of how it made me feel. Like I really felt the tension rather than thinking, oh, this is a tense situation, which I've sort of felt at times with certain episodes, like, oh wow, that's difficult, oh that sucks, but in this it was a lot of like gut kind of Cal level feelings of like, no. But yeah, lots of balls are in the air, lots of things in motion. But yeah, Jiaying's big turn, especially with just how, I mean, she's come across as really diplomatic a lot of the time, but we have sort of seen little indications of the fact that perhaps too much power has been vested in her. She refers a lot to the long life that she has led and the experience she has, and she has the know-how, the knowledge to make these choices. But it doesn't make them any less problematic or scary, especially when she seems to keep a nice core compared to Cal. But yeah, so that was a big jaw dropper for me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole episode was really well handled. Didn't feel like sometimes TV shows, specifically primetime TV shows, have to fill like
Yeah.
22 to 23 episodes. The penultimate episodes are always just like kind of let situations simmer, let us see where characters are. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's just filler. And here it's like I was concerned. I knew something was going to happen. You could feel it, and that's another testament to just how good this episode was. Like you feel the tension just tighten up a
Yeah.
little bit. Nothing like how this week's Game of Thrones episode did it, where I didn't realize an hour had gone by and I had watched the entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it was I got off guard again. Yeah, I mean I didn't know that, or I didn't realize that the episode was coming to a close as Ajayi and Gonzalez were talking in the finale of the episode, and
Yeah.
God, this episode is so much is happening, but it doesn't feel cluttered. Again, it's another testament to the show. It's handling all these different interweaving plot lines.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the standout moment was just the finale, yeah, where Jaiying reveals her true colors. And I do feel bad for Reina, because at first I was like, Reina's going to screw them all over, because that's just how I felt about the character. And maybe there isn't even that much stuff to prove it when you start really looking back on it. I mean, she's always kind of been out for herself, but she would have had nothing to gain from S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans going to war. But now I'm like, oh God, she was right. Reina was right, and I never thought I'd say that about the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was so much fun to watch everyone kind of double whammy, twist and turn over each other and try to see who's going to come out on top. And the season finale is probably going to be pretty dang good. I mean, if this is any indication of the direction they're headed, and yeah, a good call with the Magneto reference. She's totally. I mean, these guys are just X-Men now. I mean, even Marvel Comics have been like trying to make Inhumans the next big thing, and they're like canceling a bunch of X-Men titles, and it's odd because just yeah, like stop trying to make the Inhumans a thing. They're cool, but they're not X-Men.
Right.
It's like, yeah, she's totally just for the greater good type of thing, but yeah, it's not right. And even though she's lived that maybe prosperous life, I won't say prosperous, but long life, she's seen how people can treat each other.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want that. Again, like Magneto, the Nazi prison camps. I really like this character, though, even though I'm like, oh, why the fuck did you do that? Yeah. Like everything could have just been solved so simply, but yeah, it's great. And Cal, I think, is just, you know, that little trope where someone gets caught and then they break out and cause even more damage from within. I think that's pretty clear. That's where Cal's headed in the finale, especially with all those little vials that we saw him with.
It's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like those old cartoons are like, I don't know, those little eyes, you know?
He is a living, breathing cartoon, and I think that's my favorite thing about him, because he's just so maniacal, all sunshine and rage. And I really liked the moment where he has this sort of clarifying moment before he goes with S.H.I.E.L.D. and he's talking to Sky and it's like, you know, you truly are magnificent. And he just kind of centers in that moment, like, there he is, you know, not oscillating back and forth between one side of the crazy spectrum or the other. Just like, you are a beautiful thing, and I'm doing this as I'm getting emotional. I don't know why, but I think he's been such a fun character, and I think that we're gonna see a bit more Jacqueline Hyde action from him, and maybe even Mr. Hyde in full. But yeah,
that's what I was hoping for. Like, it's fine if we didn't get it at all, you know, the entire season. We just got like things of how strong he is. But if we can get, like, I guess Hulk out just once in the finale and just like go through a rampage, that would be great. Because I mean, even the comic book drawn poster for the finale that's been going around on the interwebs. It
Mm-hmm.
has Fitzsimmons looking at a supposedly hulking out Mr. Hyde, Cal, and that I mean the poster looks cool. I mean it's
Yeah.
kind of funny that the TV posters look better than like the movie posters, but that's another thing to discuss another time. But yeah, I mean, if they don't show that now, then I'll be a little disappointed because I mean you're teasing it up so much. Why would you not?
And they have
follow through?
2 hours to do it. Like, they really don't need to cut any corners here. They're giving themselves ample amounts of time to really bring out everybody's true colors. So I hope that's what they do. And it feels like that's what they're going to do. So they best get to it.
Yeah, I mean the Flash. I talk about it all the time on this show because the Flash is great, but they just had
Mhm.
a telepathic, super powerful giant gorilla in this week's episode. If they can do that,
Ooh.
you can show me Mr. Hyde. That's all I want.
Straight
I mean,
up.
there's a lot more they show too, but I mean, yes, I want that.
Oh, yeah.
I guess a couple last things. What did you think of the Age of Ultron tie-in to Theta Protocol? I think that's what it was called, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense, and I think it was a very practical way to tie the two of them together because there's not really a ton that they could do or really needed to do, I guess. So it makes sense that all of these resources and secret appointments and all the things that were going on were dedicated to like sort of restoring this shield base and like using that for the Avengers. Like they and being that they have such a big kerfuffle going on with the Inhumans and even with Hydra every now and again, they didn't need to spend ample amounts of time like Ultron. Like they worked it in. And I think it was good. And, you know, people can complain about it if they want to, but I think practically speaking, it was a really wise choice and made a lot of sense. And I think that it goes to show that the series is learning to stand on its own 2 legs. They're kind of ushering in the 3rd tier of the MCU now, what with the Inhumans and stuff. So, like, as important as it is for them to reference and sort of be a part of what's going on in Age of Ultron, they don't have to make it about that. And so I appreciated that. And I think it's funny, too, that they kind of expected that everybody who's watching the show would have, like, between the one week and the other, have seen Age of Ultron, too. Like, you know, it's kind of, here's your homework. Go do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I both very much loved Age of Ultron, or at least loved. I would go as far to say adored for myself. I think we're pretty much on the same boat for that. Check out both of our reviews, obviously, on Emily's channel and my own. Links will be down in the doobly-doo. And then I'm doing a larger spoiler discussion tomorrow, actually. So definitely check that out. It's going to be an hour-long talk, just Age of Ultron, because there's literally like everything to talk about with that movie. I don't even know if I can talk about everything I want to talk about for an hour. And there's
so much like controversy around it now too, that it's like, I mean, even that stuff like just blew up after I made my full review, and I'm kind of glad that I did before certain bombs were dropped. But yeah, still much to discuss for sure.
Yeah, I'll touch on that because I feel like I just want everyone to stop fighting. I feel there's a more civil way to handle something like that. I mean, I guess that applies to everything. So it's not totally out of field that we're talking about Age of Ultron on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. segment. No. Just a quick little tidbit then. Regardless of what you feel about characterization, don't tell people to kill themselves.
Nope.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all I really have to say right here. So final thoughts on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 220 and Scars.
Been going. I mean, like I said, I think this was a favorite episode of mine on a lot of levels. There was only a couple of things that were kind of like for me, like with Mac deciding that he's leaving because Coulson wants to be the director. It's like, I don't know, that kind of bums me out. I'm like, dude, don't be a dick. Like, quit harping on the alien stuff already, you guys. Like, it happens. This is a part of life. I mean,
he's a xenophobe.
Yeah. Don't you be hating now. But yeah, other than that, in the grand scope of things, because there were I mean, heaven and earth were moved in this episode. And again, going with my gut feelings and reactions, this was really good and makes me really excited for what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely.